All right, YouTube fans, if you are a professional model builder, you probably don't need to watch this video. This is for people like me who build models on occasion and haven't built one in a really long time. And I'm one of those people who built them when I was a kid and probably into my 20s. And then I stopped for many years, for many decades. And recently, for some strange reason, I went into my closet that has lots of models that I never built and decided to build this RC Tamiya 1/10 scale LaFerrari. And it turned out better than I thought it was going to turn out, quite honestly, because I hadn't done one of these in so long, and they're quite intimidating when you start because they look like this. A clear body. Not only a clear body, but a clear body that is full of no details. No wheel wells cut out. Not much to speak of in terms of the original detail of one of these models. But somehow you've got to take all these pieces and parts, free them from their prison of vacuform, and turn them into this for your first step, where you get the pieces and parts. As you can see, I've just test fit some of them with Scotch tape at the moment and cut all this stuff out. Now, how did I do that? With my surgical instruments. Lots of different scissors. I see people do this with X-Acto knives. I see it done with Dremels. For me, I had asked my wife to go to the drugstore and get as many curved and cuticle scissors as she could so I could deal with the contours of these models, of these shapes. So I ended up using, for the most part, to cut all of these pieces out, these scissors here, and a little bit of this one and a little bit of that one for some straight lines. Like this Lexan is very tough to cut out. It's hard to demonstrate, but it's very thick. And to cut straight lines out of it is tough. But I wanted to do the minimal amount of sanding possible because it's better to take the time to cut it accurately and sand and make mistakes less. So this is what you end up with if you take your time. And I mean really take your time, because this is probably, to go from this to this was about 9 hours worth of work. And I'd rather take my time to cut these shapes out, because sanding, you know, I did a little bit of sanding on the wheel wells, but very little. Just enough to take care of some edges that were a little odd. But everything you see is thanks to the contoured scissors I have. They really, really help getting these shapes cut as accurately as possible the first time, and really taking your time. Then I just use kind of an emery cloth around the wheel wells and a little bit on the spoiler in the back, the rear wing, to get the edges as refined as possible. So when you're done with that, you want to give this a good bath on the underside and get rid of any issues with oil from your hands, dust from sanding, you name it. Because when you paint these cars, you don't paint them from the top, as all you RC model builders know. You paint them from the underside. And that's great because that's what gives them this incredibly nice finish when they're done. And it allows you to paint them in a multitude of different ways too, and using multicolors. And if you want to use a brush, which I don't recommend, but because you're painting the underside of the car, you actually could, in some areas, use a brush to paint them. But what you're looking at here on the LaFerrari is all spray painted, but spray painted from the bottom, from the underside. So in this cracked up version from one of my other cars, you can see that this one's been raced and stuff. Had a number of accidents. It got hot. And so you can see the underneath has been painted. And when you do crash them, they do flake off. And that's why I have, as you can see, a couple of bodies here. Because I fully expect, if I were to drive these, that one of them is going to get wrecked. I do have another body for this LaFerrari. I have another body for this Ferrari F190. This is an old Williams FW14. I thought I had another body for this, but I haven't found it yet. This car has been around for such a long time, and it's been moved around all over the place when we moved, and I haven't located the body yet in my house. This is a Michael Schumacher F2001. This is the first car I built, and the last car I built, I should say, but it's the first car I built with more sophisticated components. It's got oil-filled shocks. It's all-wheel drive, and I've never run it. It doesn't have a radio. It doesn't have a speed controller or servos or anything in it. Unfortunately, it does have a motor, and maybe one of these days I'll get to run it. The other cars are running on very old tech, old Futaba Magnum Sports and Magnum Junior radios. I even bought this one for the LaFerrari on eBay for like 75 bucks, only because I knew the technology. There's so much new tech now, so that's something that you can delve into. For me, it's more about building the models than racing them. So I wanted this one to be a runner, the LaFerrari to be a runner. So I did buy this cheap radio that I understood the tech to and got it running. So all of these first three do run. So they're pretty good. Anyway, after that, the thing that's unique about the LaFerrari is it did not come with an interior, as a lot of RC cars don't. So I did an interior on it, put a driver, put my cheesy representation of Ayrton Senna's helmet in there, and shaped it from this vacuform piece that you can buy online. They still make these left-hand drive, right-hand drive. They make some for rally cars. This is not an exact replica of what the LaFerrari interior would look like, but you can sort of get it to work and make it, give yourself a decent looking interior, even if it isn't specifically accurate to the car you're building. I'm going to use this one to do an interior for the Porsche 917 or the 956. I wish I had a 917, but I don't. The other thing I did with this car is they come with this racing Porsche set of decals. I wanted the original. I mean, they did run like this because cigarette advertising wasn't always allowed. But I was able to find on eBay water slide decals with the Rothmans cigarette logos on them. So when I make this body, I'm going to be using those. That is going to be more representational to this car. This is what the Porsche is going to look like when it's finished. This is a much more accurate model, and you can sort of see the differences where things like the radiator inlets, you don't have any of this on an RC car. They don't give you this much detail. They give you lights, but not to the level of detail that you're going to see on a non-running representational model of one of these cars. This one's Jackie X Derek Bell. This is a 1/12 scale, so this is smaller than the RC car I'm building. This one does not have any openings, but you can see that it's extremely highly detailed, and I'm using it for reference to make some modifications to this car as I go along. So the next step for me is going to be to get this cleaned up and start masking it for the areas of it that are going to be painted blue and the areas that are going to be painted white. That's going to take multiple masks, multiple steps of masking. I'll mask off the areas that are going to be white, and then I'll paint the blue areas, and then I'll mask off the areas that are already blue, and I will paint the white. And the other thing you could do is just paint over everything all blue or all white on the underside after you've masked one of the colors off. Then you don't have to worry so much. As long as you've painted it thick enough so that it doesn't bleed, whatever color is underneath it, bleeding through to the color you want to see on the outside. So usually I mask both colors off to prevent that from happening. The model comes with some good masks to get you started. Gives you light lenses, gives you windshield, side windows, rear tail lights. These are rear tail lights right here. And they fit very accurately, which is really nice. The older kits that I have here did not have a lot of these masks, and I used to do this all either with tape, specific tapes that you can buy modeling masks, or with Fast Mask liquid mask, and I use this too. I still use this because there are areas that I want to do my own detailing on, which I did a lot of on the LaFerrari. For example, the striping here, I did. And that stuff is interesting. Oh, wow. Let's see if I can open it. I can't. It's obviously sealed. I wanted to show it to you. It's kind of like, well, describe it. It's kind of like green Elmer's glue. It's got the same consistency. It's almost like you're painting Elmer's glue on with a paintbrush. And then it dries to like rubber cement. And you can just pull it off when you're done. And it leaves it's a great mask. It works. And it's water soluble. So if you make mistakes with it, you can just, wipe it off before it fully dries. If you don't want to peel it, you can wipe it. That allows you to also trim it a little bit with like a wet napkin or something like that if you want to get a really straight edge with it after you've brushed it on. But it works really good. So in my next video, you'll see, hopefully, this car painted. I may do, if I get a chance, I'll try and do some video of the masks too, so you can see how they look, how the car looks once it's masked. But I just wanted to give you a little introduction to the process of me doing one of these cars. If you're a novice and you'd like to build one of these days, give it a shot. All I can tell you though is bring your patience and your scissors, because right here is the most crucial part. The rest of the car is pretty much, if you built any sort of model, you'll be fine. These require almost no glue. Everything is screwed or snapped together because they have to be very durable. They got to be way more durable than glue can provide in some of these stressful environments they're going to be running, and they're going to hit stuff. So they go together much more like a small machine than they do a model. And so they're, with the directions and stuff, Tamiya has always done great instructions. I built many of their actual models, 1/12 scale models that don't run, and they go through everything in quite detail. So if you just follow what they tell you to do, you're going to be successful. And nowadays, with people like me and many, many others out there on YouTube land, you're going to get so much more information if you have questions or issues with building one of these. And you can see this was the instructions for cutting these shapes out. So you can clearly see from the instructions, they tell you what you need to save and what you need to lose, like in details like this, where you're trying to just cut out these little tail light buckets and stuff from a piece of Lexan like this. It almost makes no sense when you look at it. And especially this rear wing was a piece of plastic. It's a lot of plastic to free up that rear wing section. But there you go. And then the next step, as you can see, they tell you how to mask it. So you know, you're not flying blind here. There's not a lot of guesswork. They really go through this scenario of how they want you to paint the car, how they want you to mask the car, what colors need to be painted and where. But remember, one more thing that they don't tell you at first, I don't think I've read this, but the nice thing about these, if you notice, they're a little bit cloudy, the bodies. And what they have on the outer side of them is a very, very thin layer of like handy wrap, cellophane, that you peel off. You peel off this top layer when you're done, and you've got perfectly clear, clean plastic. That way, you don't and you do that as the very, very last step before you apply your decals. You do that, and this body becomes perfectly clear and shiny, and it's protected while you're working on it. You don't have to worry about your fingerprints. You don't have to worry about scratching it if you flip it upside down and you're rubbing it around. So that's a nice little protection that you get, and while you're working on the car. And the other thing I wanted to mention is these have to be cut out, these decals, which I never quite understood why they just didn't make them so you could peel them off like they do these. These are water slide decals, and they are to the exact shape that you're looking at. But these are stickers. And because they're stickers, well, not because they're stickers, but unfortunately, they are not cut out. This is one big sheet of sticker, and you've got to hand cut all of these. So once again, these scissors come in very handy to get accurate cutting, because you don't want too much excess of clear sticker. You'll see it on the car and it'll look sloppy. So you want to cut these things as close to the contours that they have as possible. And so keep that in mind. Once again, slow and accurate is always the best way to do these things. Do them right the first time. And if you take your time, it's easy to do that. You won't make the mistakes that being in a hurry make you make. It's kind of intimidating at first to make that first cut into a piece of Lexan. It's not very flexible. So I do a lot of relief cuts, and I actually end up with a lot of little pieces of Lexan. I actually saved some of this, and I saved this for two reasons. One, to show you, and two, because I may make some extra pieces out of this that may add some detail to the car as I go along. So I try and keep some of it that I think might be useful, like these flatter pieces. And but even these little ones, you never know. I'm a junk collector. My wife will tell you that. So I keep all of the pieces, but this also gives you an idea of how I cut these shapes out. And I cut them as close as possible the first time, the wheel wells and stuff. But I also did a lot of relief cuts around corners and stuff to give me the ability to bend the Lexan and get my scissors in there more accurately. And, for example, I just freed the corners all the way around. The very first thing I did was I got rid of this flashing here before I started cutting wheel wells and things like that. And I also did the same thing. I cut this back piece off, as you can see. And that gave me the ability to bend the sides of the Lexan and get my curved scissors to more accurately follow the contours of the wheel wells that they barely have etched in there. You can see them. And the tail piece of the rear wing and rear deck. So there you go. So let me know what you think. If you have any questions, and I'll keep you posted as this develops along the way, but hopefully it'll turn out at least as nice as this little model did here. Hopefully a little better, because this is round 2. This one I really like because I did add a lot of detail. I put real grills in at the bottom. I got some metal mesh, and instead of just using stickers here, I actually put radiator inlets that look more realistic. The lights do work, so I installed lights. They sell light kits at all these different RC hobby stores. They sell them on eBay. They're like $10, and you can add a light kit to your car, which is really neat. But yeah, so all these little inlets and that's what I use some masking for that they didn't give you masks to do, to add these little bits of extra detail on this LaFerrari, for example. The other thing I did on this car is I made a print of the real LaFerrari's engine from a photograph that I found online, and I printed it in a color printer, and I mounted it to a piece of cardboard that mimicked the shape of the engine bay, so that I've got a little extra there instead of seeing nothing but clear. I think just painted it black and covered it up. Well, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make it more realistic. And I'll probably do the same with this wherever I can. I might try and add some details here and here to make the radiators look more like the model that I showed you. But we'll see. So anyway, thanks again, and I'll be in touch.